Tell Me About It is brought to you by Don Franklin Auto of Glasgow, Extreme Health Club, and Lockshield Partners Accounting Services.
Hey, this is James Brown back here on Tell Me About It, Glasgow EPB Channel 6, the local channel. You can catch this show live every Thursday at 6 p.m. and then you can catch it on the Glasgow EPB YouTube channel anytime. You can go catch past episodes of it there, along with on kysports.tv and 104thescore.com. So if you've missed some of our past ones, where like last week we had a gaggle of Barron County Trojan football players in here. We've had interviews with people like Billy Buford, who played on the 72 Memphis NCAA finals team. You know, we've had all kinds of folks in here since we've been doing this show. When we start, last March, something like that. So yeah, tune in on Thursday at 6, or you can catch it anytime online. Trevent couldn't make it with us this week. I'm sure there are people who are friends of his who will have some comments about that. But truthfully, you know, like we've talked about before, he's got multiple jobs. But we are going to talk about the Caverna football game. We're going to talk about the Barron County season opener. And we're going to talk about the Glasgow season opener. Of the three schools that we predominantly cover, you know, they all did pretty well. Caverna did lose their game, but Barron and Glasgow won their games. And we'll start with this Barron County game. The Trojans played Metcalfe County. I think they had lost 3 of the last 4 years in that season opener against the Hornets. And last year was a bit of a stunner when they lost that game. But then, of course, the Hornets went on and went undefeated throughout the whole season until I think they got eliminated in the 2A state semifinals, I believe it was. So, I mean, they had a great run. So maybe that win by the Hornets last year kind of propelled their season and kind of probably put the Trojans in a little bit of a hole at the beginning of the season. And but they came back this year with a vengeance, won the game 30-0. Tate Spillman, playing at quarterback, had a big night. He threw for 93 yards. Threw for 98 yards, ran for 93 and 2 touchdowns. One of the things we had talked about with Barron County during their scrimmages was because they didn't want the quarterback to get hit and that kind of thing. Then a lot of times they were blowing the plays dead if there was a potential for, you know, a sack or once, you know, the quarterback would scramble out of the pocket. And so we didn't really get to see what Tate was going to look like in live action. And we talked about that with those guys last week when they were on here, and, you know, what kind of impact that would have on the game. Well, obviously, once Tate was unleashed and the whistle play wasn't blown dead prematurely, he could do a lot of damage, and that's exactly what he did. He's in his first year of starting at quarterback. He's a junior. And the thing about Tate is, and he mentioned this when we were on doing the show last week, is his ability probably to extend some pass plays or turn some maybe broken plays into positive plays. And then, you know, the designed runs. I mean, he did run the ball 18 times before it was all said and done. So, you know, that's kind of the way it works out. Also, he had a big game on defense. I believe he maybe had an interception on defense or a big pass breakup. I don't remember which one. And the Trojans' defense, despite Coach Tommy Muse's concerns, played extremely well. He was concerned because he has 4 new linebackers. He's lost a couple of key defensive linemen to graduation. The secondary was going to be back, so the passing defense looks to be pretty strong. I think the concern was, were they going to look like against the run and that kind of thing. Metcalfe is typically a team that can line the ball up and mash you in the mouth for a little while and make you, you know, say uncle or whatever, aunt, whichever one you want to call to. But that was not the case on Friday night. The Trojans held them to 82 rush yards, 6 passing yards. Meanwhile, Barron ran for 228. After Spillman, you had Cody Kearney with 53, Logan Truitt with 33, Austin Sewell 23. Sewell also had a touchdown. Braxton Carnes had a rushing touchdown. So they ran the ball effectively, and controlled the game pretty much in every way you would want to. And then, like on the defensive side, Jonathan Wilson had 5 tackles and 1 for a loss. Brooks Browning, who was on here last week, he had 4 tackles, and Braden Houchins had a fumble recovery. So just overall, defensive performance was outstanding for the Trojans. This Friday, they're hosting the Trojan Trail Clash, something like that. I apologize. I never can remember all 4 words. Just trips me up every time. Anyway, they are supposed to host a bowl game. The bowl game is scheduled, the first game is scheduled for 5:30 p.m. between Warren East and Greenwood. Obviously, this week, the heat index stuff is causing some delays in games. So there's some fear. And by the time you're watching this at 6 p.m. on Thursday, this answer may be there. There is some fear that the heat index is going to be too high to start that 5:30 game. So there are contingencies in the works just in case. Barron's game is scheduled to start at 8 p.m. against Trigg County. Going to be a different animal than Metcalf in terms of what probably skill players, that kind of thing. Trigg usually has some pretty good receivers. I think they have one of the top-rated receivers in the state. And so we won't really know about how that schedule is going to work in terms of the start time of those games until later. To that end, see, a lot of teams, a lot of games have already been moved to an 8 p.m. start that would be a 7 p.m. start. That includes Glasgow's game Friday night at Russellville. That game's going to start at 8 o'clock. So if you're going over there, you probably have a longer time to catch some dinner between work before the game actually kicks off. Russellville got beat pretty handily last week by Butler County, which is a team that is in Glasgow's district this year. One of the things about the game that Glasgow played Friday night is they hosted LaRue County. They ended up winning the game 35-0. And, they came out, threw the ball, tried to get the ball in like Rico Crowder, Jarek Martin, Cameron Bull, those guys' hands. And as a matter of fact, their first play from scrimmage, I believe, was an 80-yard touchdown pass. It looked like a run because it was a shovel pass is what it was. And it was Rico went from left to right across the formation and then went off the right side, came back, basically cut it all the way back across the field and made a little juke move at the end to score the touchdown. And, that was a big play for them. They had a couple of other big plays, but one of the things that happened in the second half for the Scotties was they went to what looked like a single wing and ran the ball pretty effectively. Easton Jesse had a big night throwing the ball and running the ball. I think he had basically a 69.5-yard run. Glasgow had made a goal line stand. They got a penalty on their first down, so they were at the half-yard line. And then Easton Jesse ran off the right side and went for 69.5 yards. So that was his big run of the night, and then that ended up being a scoring drive for the Scotties. But the score at halftime was 14-0. They really kind of, when they went to that single wing, it looked like that's when they really kind of took control of the line of scrimmage with those 5 veteran offensive linemen and kind of dominated the game there. Their defense was good all night, especially against the run. Overall, LaRue County is one of those teams that's usually pretty good, so the way they handled them was good. The Scotties threw for 283, ran for 283, threw for 157. They held LaRue to 114 yards rushing and 142 passing. I think they really only gave up one big pass play. That one didn't go for a score. It's the play that kind of set up what eventually was their big goal line stand. Easton Jesse was 12 of 20 for 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran 7 times for 138 and a touchdown. Kanan Allen came in. Gavin Neal was unable to play. And so Kanan Allen came in and he ran 4 for 68. Mason Arms had 5 carries for 40 and a touchdown. Dalen Thomas had 3 for 27 and a touchdown. Like I said, Rico Crowder had the big touchdown reception. He had 2 catches for 91 total, and Jarek Martin had 3 for 27. I believe the last touchdown in the game was a touchdown pass from Easton Jesse to Jarek Martin in the fourth quarter. So, offense clicked. They're guys that they were looking to have some big plays. Rico and Jarek, they did in the game. On the defensive side, they were pretty much all over LaRue all night. LaRue's quarterback, he was legitimately a good football player. both sides of the ball, and so he was kind of tough to handle. He made some big plays for LaRue. But Mason Arms led the Scotties in tackles. He had 6, and he also had a sack. Jacob Brunson, David Dale, Cam Johnson each had 5 tackles, and Johnson also had a sack. And then Ryan Morgan had an interception. I think it was on LaRue's first drive, but actually they were driving pretty well and killed that one. So that was a big play there early in the game. And then from there, it was a pretty clean game turnover-wise and that kind of thing. So, you know, good start for both Barron and Glasgow. They're getting those wins and defensive shutouts. For the Colonels, they didn't throw the ball very well. They didn't rack up many yards. But really after the first quarter, they kind of settled down and played a lot better, especially on defense. And in that first quarter, I think they had 5 or 6 penalties that were costly to them on the defensive side of the ball that kept Muhlenberg County's drives alive. Muhlenberg was up 22-0 at the end of the first quarter. But after that, Caverna really kind of settled down, played the run a lot better, certainly played Muhlenberg's pass attempts pretty well overall. I think one of the things that kind of happened in that game was the week before Caverna's scrimmage got canceled. They were supposed to host Western, but Jefferson County Public Schools had their busing situation and canceled all after-school extracurricular activities, so Western couldn't come to Caverna do the scrimmage. I think a lot of the things that were a problem in the first quarter for the Colonels would have been, the coaching staff would have had an opportunity to see those things in the scrimmage and work on those in the week before the game. So it was almost like that game was almost like a scrimmage in a way for them in terms of getting to see the things that were working and the things they need to clean up. I would expect to see a much different performance against Fairview. That game is supposed to be Saturday at 3 p.m. We don't know what the heat index. It's still supposed to be pretty hot Saturday. So, you know, we don't know exactly what the time of that game is as you're watching this, as I'm recording it. So we'll see what that time is. You can follow 104 The Score's Twitter and website for updates from times of these games and that kind of stuff. We'll post that stuff there. But back to the Caverna game. So, yeah, I expect to see a lot of that stuff that they struggled with in that first quarter, especially cleaned up whenever they host Fairview. One of the things, you know, that did go well for him, Jalen Crane had a good night running the ball. He was 7 for 88, and Kenyon Martin was 6 for 19. Amusingly, I suppose, the Colonels' one touchdown was a thing that was a potential negative that Kenyon Martin turned into a positive. It's listed in the stats as a fumble recovery for a touchdown, which when you look at the stats, you figure, oh, well, he recovered a Muhlenberg County fumble and returned it for a touchdown. But really what happened was the ball got knocked loose and he caught it kind of on the bounce on the edge of the pile there and then just ran 74 yards for a touchdown. It was a Caverna fumble that he picked up. So, you know, somebody said, well, can he advance it? I'm like, yeah, you know, as long as it's not the fumble Ruski in the last 2 minutes or whatever the rule is that they have. I'm not sure. I don't remember what it is. But, yeah, so that was the lone touchdown. And I actually think that 74 yards should have gone down on offensive stats, if I'm not mistaken, instead of on the defensive stats. But I'm not 100% sure about that. Meanwhile, on defense, Jalen Crane had 16 tackles. L.D. Wagner had 15. Kenyon Martin had 11. So, you know, overall, it was they lost the game, but I think after that first quarter, things went a lot better for them. Anyway, this is James Brown here on Tell Me About It, Glasgow EPB Channel 6, the local channel. We'll be right back.
At Don Franklin, we're more than a group of car dealerships. We're hardworking, everyday people of Kentucky. We strive daily to give 110% to our customers, our employees, and our families. We are committed to providing everyone with a safe and reliable vehicle, and we continue our tradition of supporting our local communities. At all 24 dealerships across Kentucky, we will treat you like family. Don Franklin Family of Dealerships, we are Kentucky.
Extreme Fitness has doubled in size, now with over 8,000 square feet of co-ed weights and an upgraded 90-degree saline therapy pool. The Extreme Fitness Campus also holds the exclusive Extreme Fitness for Women complex and Extreme Blend Smoothie Bar. You have to experience the variety of classes to realize the impact they have on their clients. Personal training is with the best in the business and is available and tailored to fit individuals. So start your journey today at Extreme Fitness and Health Club.
Lockshield Partners Accounting Services provides professional and trusted expertise to our clients. Our team offers individual, business, and nonprofit tax preparation services, as well as payroll, bookkeeping, and consulting year-round. Call or visit our office today so our team can work for you while you and your loved ones focus on what really matters, because together we plan.
Hey, this is James Brown. Welcome back to Tell Me About It on Glasgow EPB Channel 6, local channel. As mentioned in the first segment, we'll recap it here. You can also catch this anytime on Glasgow EPB's YouTube channel on 104thescore.com and on kysports.tv. First segment, we talked a lot about football. We're going to try to tell you a little bit about some other sports that have gone on in the past week. I think the highlight of the past week, since we last talked to you guys and we really didn't talk about this a whole lot, was in a week's time, Glasgow and Warren East played each other in boys soccer. And, you know, with the graduations of top players at Barron County last season, and basically the fact that Glasgow had a really young team last year, and it was their worst season they've had so far. Allen is still a developing program, and so Warren East won the district title last year, their first year in the 15th district. I don't know, you know, if you took preseason bets or whatever, who would put what team first, second, third in the 15th district in boys soccer. But I think most people would have kind of circled the idea that Glasgow and Warren East were the two favorites. One of them they figured would win the district. Now, I will tell you this, Lawrence Niken is back coaching boys soccer at Barron County, and this isn't a slight on prior coaches or any of that kind of thing. He's just a different kind of coach when you get down to it when it comes to coaching soccer. He had a really good run there his first time. His couple of years coaching the Barron County girls, they were very good, a real threat in the region actually. So, you know, he's just really good at coaching. You got to take that into consideration when you're looking at the 15th district. And I'll get to that here in just a second. So let's go back to this Glasgow Warren East. The first meeting between the two teams over at Warren East, Glasgow won 3-2. Something to know was that Jared Malagon did not play in that game. He played the first game of the season, and I believe that's the only one he had played in. He was injured, and so his first game back was the game, I believe that was Monday night, between Warren East and Glasgow. He ended up scoring both goals in the game. The second goal was in the first extra 5 minutes. In high school, they do golden goals, so if whomever scores in the extra time, then the game's over with. They win that. So he sized one up, got a breakaway in the middle of the field, put it down. I think it was in the left lower corner of the goal for the win. That puts Glasgow at 3-0 in the district. So they're in the driver's seat right now. Warren East is, they may be 1-2 or 0-2. I'm not sure if they've played Allen County, but they've not played Barron yet. To that end, tonight, Thursday, Barron is playing over at Warren East. The game time was moved to 7 o'clock instead of, I think originally it's 5:30, like we talked about in that prior segment. All this week, a lot of games have either been postponed because of heat or they've been moved back in time. So if they were 5:30 or 6, they've been played at 7, most of them. And for the most part, they've all been played at 7. So that game should be at 7 o'clock. You can watch this and then, you know, drive over and catch the game too. I'm interested to see how that game goes because Barron's already beaten Allen County. I think they beat them 7-1, so they're 1-0 in the district. And this will be a good gauge of where these teams are. We could be in a situation in this district where basically you have 3 teams that are just neck and neck. And so that makes the seeding in the district tournament important and also could make the district really exciting as well. So I'm interested to see how that game goes. Meanwhile, the Barron County girls hosted Warren East on Tuesday. It was a close game. East got a goal early, I think off of a corner kick, and then so they were up 1-0, and then they got a couple. Then they got, that was in the first half, so that was scored at halftime. East ended up scoring 3 goals in the second half. I thought Barron did a good job on East's #1 player in terms of shadowing her, shading some defense to her. I think she only had the 1 goal in the game. She may have ended up having 2, but they did end up getting another long-range bomb from a girl, way outside the box, and then a pretty good shot inside. As a matter of fact, I think she did only have the 1 goal. So they did a good job there. But when you have a player like that is such an effective scorer, it does open up opportunities for other players. And if they can, make their shots, then you're kind of gambling. If you, in the case of Barron and their defense, gambling to try to say no one else, we don't believe anyone else is going to score the goals. And it worked for most of the game. One note, Hadley Adams did not play for Barron. She was out, I think, with illness. And so when they meet again over at Warren East, if Hadley is available and everybody's there, that probably changes a lot of things about the game, especially Barron's ability to score, because obviously she can score from almost anywhere on the field when you get down to it. She's got a big leg, and she can really hit some deep range shots on people, on target, not just incidentally. So that had obviously had an impact on Barron's ability to score in that game. The Glasgow girls were supposed to play at Allen on Tuesday, but because of the heat, they decided to postpone the game. That game's now scheduled for 6 p.m. Saturday over at Allen County. Their field is, you kind of have to drive by the intermediate center and the primary school and wind around, and you're like, there's a soccer field here, but yeah, it's back there. So anyway, that's when that game's going to be played. Some notes about sports other than soccer. The first cross-country meet of the season for Barron County was this past Saturday. Ran at Elizabethtown at that sports complex that they have there. Sports park maybe is what they call it. Chesney McPherson, one of the favorites in the state, I'd say. She finished second with, I think her time was 18:17. She was behind Tula Fallbush. I can't remember where Tula is in school. But they were 2 of the 4 top returning runners from last season. 2 of the other top runners obviously graduated. So, that's pretty good showing for her right out the gate. Jamison Corbin finished second, I think it was, at the South Laurel Invitational on Saturday. He's played exceptionally well lately. Cameron Pippin is finally eligible for Barron and is playing. If you go back and you watch our discussion with Coach Craig Pippin, his dad, we talked about, that he had transferred from Glasgow to Barron when Coach Pippin took the boys' golf coaching job. So he played in his first tournament on Saturday, shot 88. The Trojans are going to be one of those teams that are going to be a threat here in this Region 3 tournament. The Glasgow has played exceptionally well. They've been right at the top of the leaderboard in just about every tournament they've been in. And then, of course, also in that region is Greenwood and Bowling Green. They're 2 of the better teams around. So right now it looks like potentially a 4-team chase when that Region 3 tournament tees off in about, I don't know, it's less than a month now before the Region 3 tournament. So that'll be pretty interesting there. Good run down the finish line. I believe both Barron and Glasgow are scheduled to play at Franklin in the Wildcat Invitational, Franklin Country Club on Saturday. It starts like at 8 a.m. Barron County's girls are also scheduled to play in the afternoon there. This past weekend, they won the Women's Kentucky Invitational Tournament, and I think they played Lakewood Country Club, which I think it's in Russell County. So they won that, had a good showing. Kenzie Edwards had her best match of the season so far. She shot 81. She was coming back from a foot injury, got back on the course late, like the week before the season started. So good to see her back out there playing pretty well. Let's see, is there anything else we can really talk about today? I guess One of the things to take note of is that you can hear the Barron County football game on Friday night on Nash 103.7. Jay Turner will have the call. You can catch John Butler there. He does the Brown Sports Bag with me every Monday. And to that end, we're going to have a pregame show, 5:30 to 6:30, that will be on 104.7 The Score and on 104thescore.com. Brown Sports Bag on the road. So yeah, we're going to go talk about a bunch of stuff and maybe try to entertain you guys in case there is some sort of heat-related delay. All right. This is James Brown. I've been here on Tell Me About It, Glasgow EPB Channel 6, local channel. We'll be back next week.